الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونصلي ونسلم على خاتم الرسل وأفضل الخلق محمد بن عبد الله عليه وعلى أزواجه وآله وأصحابه أفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم اللهم احشرنا معهم يا رب. All thanks and gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one true God. Salah and salam on the Prophet Muhammad, on his wives, his companions, his followers. May Allah grant us to join them in the Jannah. Amen. So, we conclude today, even though we probably can't continue talking about hypocrites, but we'll try and conclude it today. Today, inshallah, we'll start talking about the sins, what makes someone a hypocrite. Allah Azza wa Jal says, إِن تَجْتَنِبُوا كَبَائِرَ مَا تُنْهَوْنَ عَنْهُ نُكَفِّرْ عَنْكُمْ سَيِّئَاتِكُمْ وَنُدْخِلْكُمْ مُدْخَلًا كَرِيمًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to us, if you avoid the major sins, the major acts, the major deeds that you have been prohibited from doing, we forgive your sin and we take you. That means we take you to heaven. You enter a good place, which is heaven. Okay, so, and we gave some examples of sins last week, but I think the scholars have taken this and started to categorizing the sins. So they categorized the two types of sins, a major sin and a minor sin. Now, before we go into details how it's categorized and what's the difference, we must understand that regardless of the sin itself, it is whom you're disobeying. If a friend of mine, if a friend of mine does something wrong to me, it's not the same as if my son did something wrong to me. It's not the same as if you went in the street, if you punched someone in the street, it's not the same as if you went to a policeman and punched him. Correct? The person is, depending on who that person is, it makes even though the act's identical, the punch is a punch or the push is the push, but because the person is different, his status is different, the act becomes more severe. And this is in our world. This is between us and ourselves. Now, imagine disobeying not your parent, but disobeying the Creator. So, some scholars said, really, if you're going to start to look at sin as a small sin, okay, as a bad sin, no, then you've got it wrong. The point is, if you're disobeying the Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you're in the wrong to start with. It's a very dangerous place to be in. You're trying to, we in our day-to-day life, we ask Him for forgiveness. We ask Him to take us to heaven. We ask Him for our daily needs. We ask Him to give us health, to protect our families, to make our children successful in their exams, to get them married, to have children. Isn't that whom we're asking? So you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you don't go and on one hand ask Him and the other hand disobey Him. It doesn't really fit, does it? So and there's a hadith, there's a lengthy hadith from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the meaning of the hadith, if you want your prayers, your askance of Allah to be answered, make your food, what you eat and what you wear and what you earn, halal, avoid the haram, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will answer your prayers. Okay, so this is a bit of an introduction on the major sins. Now, like I said, let's define what a major sin is to start with. The scholars have defined a major sin as a sin that has a punishment in this world. So let's go back to the Prophet's time or the companions' time when they had an actual Islamic state. If someone stole, well, not straight away, but if he fulfilled the conditions of stealing, he would have his hand cut off as a deterrent. SubhanAllah, throughout 1,200 years, the number of people whom actually have had that implemented is not a lot. You'd think it's about thousands, not a lot at all. The deterrent was the deterrent Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us is so severe that you think twice before you do it. And that's the point of a deterrent. What's the point of a deterrent if it's a slap on the wrist? I'm just going to do it again. If I'm going to murder someone and I'm just going to take 6 months prison, cool. You know what I mean? The concept is deterrent. It becomes, and that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you read the Quran, you see the punishment in hell. It's horrific. It genuinely is horrific. It's scary. I don't want that. I don't want to be punished in that way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is deterring you. At the same time, He's enticing you. On the other hand, if you do follow me, this is what you're going to get. And imagine everything. After all you've imagined, caveats. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you what you cannot even imagine. And that makes sense. The children right now play video games. If I went 1,000 years ago about video games, what? It's something you won't imagine. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is promising us throughout all history that He's going to still give us what we cannot imagine. Whatever the day of judgment is, 1,000 years from now, 100 years, doesn't matter. It will still be something you will not even occur to you. So, first thing is that a major sin is something where there's a punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You murder, you get killed, that's a punishment. That's a major sin. Or there's a specific mention from Allah for damnation. Damnation in Islam means you're forbidden from Allah's mercy. When Allah's in Arabic is called lana. Lana means the equivalent translation is damnation, but it's kind of doesn't really translate very well. So what the word means is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are excluded from His mercy. That person who does this is not good. Allah's mercy is not going to fall on. You're outside of His mercy. And there's many sins, if you do them, you're excluded from the mercy. Some sins, there's no punishments. So someone goes to his father or his mother and slaps her. There's no punishment. Well, most of the time there's no punishment for that. But Allah warned whoever does that. He warned them severely. Riba, taking interest, or usuri, I think is the translation for it, which is, I loan a brother £100. You're not going to give me £100. You're going to give me 120. And now it's become so complicated that it's counted on a daily basis in an unbelievable complex formula. Guys that work in accountants probably understand this better than me. And it's counted on a daily basis, changes on a daily basis. So I've got no idea what I'm going to pay him. So the poor stays poor, the rich stays rich, and you wouldn't ask money if you didn't need the money. Now I'm taking advantage of that, and I'm going to suck you dry. There's no punishment for that. There's no specific punishment for that. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through the Prophet, said, Lama, the damnation is on person does that. So anything that has a punishment or that has been mentioned specifically by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or His Prophet is on the major sins. They've collected the major sins. One of the scholars called Imam al-Dhahabi, and he's got a book called, it translates to major sins, Al-Kabir, or major. And he counted 70. I'll be able to go through them all. I will select a few just to go through them, and we'll talk about, I think we've talked about a lot of them anyway. So he starts by shirk billah, not worshipping Allah purely, or shirk billah, worshipping something with Allah. That's the biggest sin ever. And by the way, this is sin number one. You do that, nothing else matters in your life. You do that sin, Everything. It doesn't matter if someone genuinely believes that there is no God, but he's doing the actions because his parents or because the society or the culture or the community. That's it. Doesn't matter what he does after that. That sin is the most sin. So it doesn't matter if he's the best person or the worst person, as he's committed the worst sin ever. The second sin. Now, these sins are sins that it's very difficult to ask forgiveness for. Some of them, to ask forgiveness, you have to re-enter Islam all over again. Some of them, al-Hajj, you have to do Hajj. There's nothing else that would make your sin go away. Some of them, there is nothing that can go away. Like, for instance, murder, killing someone. How are you going to ask? So I killed my brother. How am I going to go to him? He's dead. How am I going to go to him to ask him to forgive me? It's gone. Chance is gone. Does that mean that Allah will never forgive you? Allah's all merciful. He's given us always a light at the end of the tunnel. That if you genuinely, and I think I mentioned that last khutbah. There's the Prophet's cousin Abdullah ibn Abbas. He was one of the large scholars between the companions. This man came to him as he was teaching in the Prophet's mosque and said to him, "Does a murderer, would Allah forgive a murderer his sin?" So he looked at him and said to him, "No." So the man walked away. A couple of hours later, in the same sitting, someone else came and said to him, "Would Allah forgive a murderer his sin?" The act of murder. So he looked at him and said to him, "Yes." And then the guy left. So the people that were listening from saying Abdullah Abbas said, "Well, why do you say yes to them and no to him? What's the difference?" He said, "I looked at the first one. This man, in his eyes, I can see he's about to murder. No, there's no forgiveness. There's a deterrent here. The other one, it seems he's done the mistake. Allah's mercy is open. The only sin that Allah will never forget is a shirk billah." And Allah said that in the Quran, "Inna Allaha la yaghfiru an yushraka bihi wa yaghfiru ma duna dhalika liman yasha." Allah does not forgive if you worship someone with him, and anything below it, he'll forgive it to whomever he wants. So you're not guaranteed a forgiveness. That's why I'm saying, brothers, do you want to come a bit forward, just to allow? So there's no guarantee of forgiveness. However, you're on like a nice edge. You might be forgiven, you might not be forgiven. It depends. Depends on lots of things. I'm going to stop here and continue inshallah the next khutbah. Do istighfar to Allah subhanahu. Right. So I just want to dwell on this point just a bit more. In Surah Al-A'raf, Allah describes to us a group of people that are on a mountain called Al-A'raf, as between the Jannah and between Nar, between heaven and between hell. They've done a deed that they cannot go to hell for. They've done something so good they can't go to hell. There are some deeds, good deeds. If you do it, Allah forbids hell on you. A good example, by the way, is if you do sujood purely to Allah. You don't want anything but humility towards Allah. By the way, the moment you do sujood, your face is forbidden to be touched by hell. That's a simple thing. We do this 5 times a day. Minimum 5 times a day. 5 times a day what? 5 prayers. Each prayer's how many times? 4 times? Yeah, 4 times. And if it's 2 rak'at, if it's 4, multiply by 2, that's 8. You do it many times a day. Every time you do sujood, purely to Allah, your face is forbidden. If a tear falls upon you, you've listened to something, you've read something, it touched you so much, so a tear fell on your face, fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your whole face is now forbidden. There's no way it's going to, hopefully none of us go to hell, inshallah. But if that Muslim goes to hell for whatever reason, that hell is forbidden to touch his face, and so on and so forth. On the other side, there are sins you do, you cannot go to heaven. You disrespect your parents. That's the easiest one. Disrespect. We spoke about this a lot, haven't we? This is, it's good. I don't know. Keep on repeating it because it's so important. And their death does not stop our duty towards them. We seek our uncles. We seek the people they love. Continue. We do dua for them when they're dead. If you disobey, disrespect your parents, you're not going to go to heaven. So these are people stuck in the middle. Now, these are the ones you don't know. Someone's murdered someone. There's nothing. You don't know if he's going to go to heaven or hell. It's a very, very hard position to be in. Okay, so there's 70. There's a lot, and I know the time is very, very short. And I do try to keep the khutbah within not more than 15, 20 minutes tops. So that it's just a reminder, really. I would recommend you to seek the book. It's translated into English. It's very good. It's called Al-Kabir, and I'll ask Brother Muhammad to put it onto the WhatsApp to view it and to look at the major sins to specifically avoid them. Okay, I cannot complete this without saying, how do I seek forgiveness for a sin? And alhamdulillah, we mentioned it multiple times, but now's a good time to mention it again. The first thing, if it's between yourself and between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah expects from you three things. The first thing is you feel guilty of what you've done. Okay, first thing, feel guilty. Second thing, stop. If you don't stop, you haven't felt guilty. So, I'm talking bad about a brother or a sister. I shouldn't have done that. And then 2 seconds again, I'd just do it again. I haven't stopped. So I really am not feeling guilty. If I felt guilty, if I genuinely felt what I did was wrong, I wouldn't have continued. Okay, so first, feel guilty. Second, stop. Third, have the determination to never do it again. Even if you repeat the sin 1,000,000 times, it doesn't matter. You do these three things, because if you don't have the determination, if I'm drinking alcohol, I stopped. I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to drink. Okay, but I just put it in the cupboard. I'm not going to throw it away. And I might tomorrow, I might day after. I haven't really felt guilty and haven't genuinely stopped. You have to have that genuine determination. Crack it, chuck it into the bin. That's it. You've determined. Now, if the next day you feel weak and you do it again, do the three things again. Allah's forgiven you the first time. Allah will forgive you again and again. If you can, and this is from Allah's mercy. He will continue forgiving you as long as you do the three things. And Allah knows your heart, because this is the crucial thing. Someone might say, well, hang on, he's not, actually, he is asking for forgiveness. He's stopped, he's guilty, he's chucked everything that would allow him to do that sin again. But he's a human, he's done a mistake. He's done it again and again and again. That's fine. Ask Allah every time. Doesn't matter. What if it's between me and a brother or a sister? Here's where it becomes hard. These are the sins that, brothers, these are the sins that you cannot escape from. These are the sins that really make you scared, should make you scared, should make you unable to sleep. If it's between you and your brother, you started the first three that I mentioned: guilt, stop, don't do it again. But the fourth one, you have to ask your brother or sister to forgive you. Lebanese people are, and I say a bad word about them. Tell me, how am I going to ask every Lebanese Muslim to forgive me on this? Even if I'm joking. And they have to forgive me, by the way. Allah won't forgive me until they forgive me. Oh, the worst thing is if a brother's dead and I speak bad about him. Oh, this Muslim, he was so and so and so. What are you going to do? How are you going to... You'll do the first three, but how are you going to go to your brother to ask him to forgive you? What are you going to do? And some scholars say, oh, you just pray to Allah to ask him to forgive. And that's if you're unable to do that, that's invalid. Some scholars said, yes, you can just ask Allah to forgive him, do some good deeds in his name. Some scholars said that's if you're unable to. Some scholars said, no, even that's not good enough. And the proof is that before the Muslimin go to Jannah, at the doors of the Jannah, stop. You don't go inside yet. Any hatred between the Muslimin, you've passed everything. You've crossed the bridge. You've done everything. You're literally on the Jannah. Any hatred between the Muslimin, Allah sorts it out between them. He takes it out of your heart, any hatred. That means there's going to be a point where there's going to be hatred between Muslimin that you haven't forgiven. I haven't forgiven you for what you've done. I still haven't forgiven you. I still hold it towards you. Okay? So this sin, brothers, don't take it lightly speaking about a brother. Even if it's joking, even if it's for chat, socialization, don't socialize. If sitting with a group of brothers means I'm going to speak about one brother, I'd rather not sit with anyone. Seriously. I know it doesn't mean that you don't socialize. A Muslim has to be extrovert and go outside. But if you know a group of people are going to speak about someone, don't. And Allah orders us to do that. That if you go to a group of people and they are speaking bad about Allah, then either change it or leave it. Okay? So, like we said, an action, inshallah, for this week. Before we sleep, look at our sins. If we've done something wrong to a brother, try and ask him for forgiveness. If asking someone for forgiveness means that you're going to cause a problem, don't go to this brother and tell them, I said that you're so and so. I mean, you have to be a bit smart. You can go to a brother and say to him, brother, I love you very much, and I hope you've got nothing in your heart against me. I hope you forgive anything. You can always dress it in a nice way, asking for a general forgiveness. That's all you need. Which means you have to be in good relations with my brother. And I promise you, if you do that, if you do that to a non-Muslim, he'll be happy and say you're fine. People are looking for a smile on your face, that's all. And they'll be good. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم إني داعٍ فمن going to do dua, say amin after it. اللهم لك الحمد حتى ترضى. اللهم لك الحمد إذا رضيت. اللهم لك الحمد أبدا أبدا. اللهم لك الحمد عدد خلقك ورضا نفسك وزنة عرشك ومداد كلماتك. اللهم صل وسلم على محمد في الأولين. اللهم صل وسلم على محمد في الآخرين. اللهم صل وسلم على محمد في الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين. رب ارحم والداي كما ربياني صغيرا. رب ارحم والداي كما ربياني صغيرا. رب ارحم والداي كما ربياني صغيرا. اللهم إني ظلمت نفسي ظلما كثيرا وإن لم تغفر لي وترحمني لأكونن من الخاسرين. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. اللهم ادخلنا الفردوس الأعلى في الجنة وارزقنا كل ما يقرب إليها من قول أو عمل وأجرنا من النار ومن عذاب القبر ومن كل ما يقرب إليهما من قول أو عمل. اللهم انصر إخواننا في فلسطين. اللهم ثبت أقدامهم. اللهم سدد رميهم. اللهم انصرهم على عدوك وعدوهم يا رب العالمين. اللهم ارحم موتاهم. اللهم اشف مرضاهم. اللهم آمن روعاتهم. اللهم احفظ أعراضهم. اللهم أطعم جائعهم واكس عاريهم واسق عطشهم. اللهم انزل السكينة والطمأنينة على قلوبهم. اللهم يا رب رد غائبهم إلى أهلهم ردا جميلا سالمين غانمين لا خزايا المفتونين. اللهم انصر إخواننا في كشمير وفي تركستان وفي كل بقعة من بقاع الأرض يحارب فيها دينك ويعذب فيها أولياءك. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وأقم الصلاة. الله الله